Hey everyone, and welcome to another video. I'm Simply G, and today I'm going to be showing off all of the anime that I got for this last month of 2020, the hell year that it's been. But despite that, we had a lot of really good sales. Christmas and Black Friday and other such sales at the end of the year, which is pretty typical. So there's a lot of anime to get through. I bought a lot more than I planned to, and scarily enough, there's a lot more coming, so I don't know when it will arrive to me, but it will, so be sure that you'll see more of this in the future. But rather than spend too long on this intro, I'm going to get straight into it, and I hope you guys enjoy. First and foremost, I got some merchandise. If you follow my channel regularly, I'm pretty sure you know what this is going to be. But I actually got two of this year's free birthday set, birthday art merchandise. So I got both Sosuke, his birthday clear file, front and back, as well as Makoto, his birthday artwork clear file. So I actually Sosuke came out quite a while ago, but the shipping choice that I chose for my Japanese proxy was very slow. I believe it was Surface mail, which I wasn't worried about because I'm not really ever in like a huge rush to get these sorts of merchandise. As long as it has tracking, it's not really an issue. But I got him after I got him, and this one came out this month, or late last month. And obviously the shipping option on this was a lot faster than that one. Not a complaint. And as always, for those who do follow my channel, I always buy the free birthday artwork merchandise and whatever other merchandise Free wants to sell me, or Kyoani wants to sell me. Which, speaking of, there's other stuff coming. So next month there will probably be more clear files than I can even count next month. But in addition to those, I actually got two different button designs, one with each, and these are just, I guess, a gesture of thanks from Kyoto Animation and the Kyoani store for supporting them over the past year since their terrible arson attack. And yeah, I think they're really cute, and I'm really happy with them. Starting with the anime that I got, I think I'm going to go in chronological order, although even already this is going to be a little bit mixed up because, so last month, for those who watched my video, I was expecting to receive three series from Right Stuff, which I did, and two of the series were fine, but one of them was in really bad condition, beat up, so I had to get a replacement. So I sent my copy back, and they finally sent me a replacement, which I received today, in fact, so I haven't even really opened this one up. But this is the premium or limited edition of Surune, put out by Sentai Filmworks. This is a sports anime focused on Japanese archery, another series done by Kyoto Animation, and a series that I did enjoy quite a bit. Really happy to have gotten this limited edition finally. I watched the series I think just after it finished airing, enjoyed it quite a lot. I'm a big sucker for Kyoto Animation series, I'm a big sucker for sports series, and I'm a big sucker for archery as well, so this kind of married a whole bunch of things together. This series also recently announced that they are getting a film adaptation or sequel, which is super exciting and cool as well. So with this, okay, also, and I've seen this on literally every photograph of this series or this edition, you can't see them so much on mine, but you see there's like black marks here, and those were all around. You can see there as well. This side is probably a bit more bad, but they were all on the top, all around, you can see. And it's actually way better than it was. I just took an eraser and tried to get rid of as much as I could. And if I spent another 10 minutes on it, I could probably get it even better than that, but I just wanted to actually film this. So this comes with the Blu-ray discs, obviously, featuring character art. And it's like with all of Sentai's limited edition releases, the artwork of the case is different from the standard edition, which I think is kind of a nice touch. Then we have a booklet with a whole bunch of, I guess, character information and I don't know, stuff. Then we have art cards, I think. I don't know. I haven't written, or I haven't opened them out. Out. What am I talking about? Gee. Okay, no, they're just like fake club journal cards, which are interesting. And they all have different backs, so one for each of the main characters, I would presume. Looks like there's a poster included, again, with majority of the or all of the main characters, and information on here. So Blu-ray, booklet, art cards, and archery target poster. Interesting. As you longtime viewers will know, that I'm not always a big fan of like physical extras in a bunch of these limited edition releases, because I very often don't use them, don't look at them ever again after the first time that I open the series. But I do like fancy packaging, and that is my big weakness. But I do appreciate when Sentai can add like booklet extras versus like a keychain or a pin or something else useless. So I'm not upset when things come with extra like postcards and whatever. That's fine. And I am really happy that this style of smaller limited edition has become the norm across majority of anime publishers or anime licensors, both in the US and overseas in the UK and Australia. It's just been a really nice trend. And yeah, so I really appreciate this series, and I'm glad that I finally got it. If you haven't watched it, it is a sports series, obviously, about archery, obviously. Our main character has he was a very accomplished archer in middle school, but now going into high school, he's been suffering with basically this fear. Every time he goes to shoot an arrow or, compete, he has this psychological issue where he just releases the arrow too quickly, which is an actual thing. It's an actual, I think it's called target shyness. I can't quite remember. But it is an actual thing that does affect athletes. And so a lot of the story is about him overcoming that fear, reconnecting with one of his longtime friends and now rival, who is at a different school, a different high school, well known for its archery team, as well as bonding or joining the archery club at his high school, and which his other best friend kind of persuades him to join, and connecting with the other members of the team there, as they make an actual 4-person team, so they can compete as a team in competition, which like with a lot of sports, there's team competitions as well as individual competitions. And so it's kind of like it has a similar setup, I guess, to free, but this is archery versus swimming. Yeah, it's good. It's a pretty solid sports series with, of course, Kyoto Animation's signature like touch of drama really merged into there with the character stuff very, very well. And I knew that I would like it before I watched it. I watched it and I liked it, which was the most unsurprising thing. So yeah, really happy to have this, and I hope to rewatch it relatively soon. Next, I have a whole bunch of releases from a local seller. One of the stores here was having a kind of clearance sale for select anime titles, up to I think 50 to 60% off, so I definitely wanted to take advantage of that. There was a bunch of titles that I wanted to get and were now at a really reasonable or very cheap price, and so I decided to jump on that whilst that was still an option. I think part of that is because the local Madman release is going out of print to be just to be out of print or to be replaced by the standard Funimation release, because that has been happening quite a bit over the last 2 years, ever since Funimation became a proper distributor in Australia. And whilst I'm not complaining necessarily, or some of these also may be making way for a larger complete collection set as well. Either way, pretty happy with my purchases, and the first one that I got was in fact the season 2 of Blood Blockade Battlefront. So this is Blood Blockade Battlefront and Beyond. I haven't watched this season yet. I did enjoy the first season. It wasn't like my favorite thing of all time, but it was fun. It was enjoyable. I look forward to watching this second season, although I didn't really hear much about it after the fact, after it came out. As you can see, it's pretty standard release, just a Blu-ray case with both Blu-ray and DVD sets. It's only 12 episodes long, I like the first season. And maybe is there an OVA in here? I don't know. I haven't watched it. No, it just looks like 12 episodes, which is the same as the first season. But from my memory of the first season, is about a version of New York which has merged, like some dimensional hole opened up in New York City, and this dimensional hole has merged part of hell or part of like some monstrous other dimension with obviously New York City, which is perhaps a commentary on New York. But our main character, he initially goes there to find work and I think to help himself, because he has these eyes, which you can see here, which have this crazy like godlike power. He ends up joining a group that kind of fight, I don't know if they fight crime, they solve problems. It's been a long time since I watched the first season, but it was fun. There's a lot of really great action. It's a Bones series, so animated by Studio Bones, so it looks great. And there's a larger mystery as well to the reason why this kind of dimensional merge and all of these monsters and everything kind of happened. But yeah, really looking forward to watching the second season. This will probably be the next thing I watch, actually, just because, you know, it's been a while. It's been a while since I've watched any of this series. So yeah. So next that I picked up from the JB Hi-Fi sale was a series that I got the rest of this series that I needed to get. I had the first part of this and had been meaning to get later parts of it for a while. Just, it's not a series that is like, I wouldn't even argue that it's good. It's fine. I do enjoy the manga a lot of the series. Even that has problems. Like, it's kind of problematic. But the thing is with the anime, when it's good, it's fantastic. When it's bad, it's not good, right? But these later arcs are some of the best stuff in the manga, I would argue. And I do enjoy the anime for what it is, and thankfully, due to the sale, all of these parts were at a price point that I was willing to pay. Like I had been meaning to get these for a while, and at half price I bought them. I took that opportunity. So first up is the kind of third season, just general continuation of Black Butler, Book of Circus. So this is a 2-disc standard Blu-ray release from Badman, which is pretty expected. This is, I think, a shorter season. There's only 10 or so episodes. Yeah, episodes 1 to 10. But this is an adaptation of the Circus arc of the manga. Arguably one of the best, if not the best, arc in the manga. I think even people who dislike the series, dislike the manga, or aren't like fans, would say that if you want a good representation of Black Butler at its best, this arc would be that what you would choose to represent that. So this is a more of our main character, Earl C.L. Phantom Hive, the young Earl of Phantom Hive House. He's also the Queen's watchdog, so he's in charge of looking after or cleaning up the dirty underbelly of Victorian England for Her Majesty Queen Victoria, and his ever loyal but also scheming and whatever else, devilish butler, Sebastian, who is literally a devil, in which CL made a deal with in his youth in order to get revenge for the people who murdered his family. Anyway, so in this arc, children are going missing. They've been going missing for a long time, but very recently, the child of a noble person, someone of high stature, has also gone missing, has disappeared, and in order to fix this, prevent this, find out what happened, Queen Victoria asks CL to kind of look into it, fix it, stop it, get rid of the problem. And in investigating, it draws our main pair to this mysterious circus in where all of the members have some sort of physical disability, some sort of prosthetic, and it's really very good. A really good balance of Black Butler's kind of early comedic, lighthearted tone and fish out of water stuff as well, with the mystery horror element that when Black Butler gets serious, it gets dark. It gets super dark, and I think the way that this arc concludes is perfectly encapsulates the series as a whole. I watched this. I've seen all of Black Butler. I watched it not necessarily when it comes out, but relatively soon afterwards. As I said, it's not my favorite series of all time, and as far as adaptations go, I wouldn't say it's necessarily that strong. I think, at least art design wise, animation wise, it doesn't seem to capture the manga as well as it could, but those are nitpicky issues, like those are personal problems. But the writing, the actual adaptation of this part of the story is done very well in this particular season. Then I also got the follow-up to that, the sequel, kind of, the OVA series, Book of Murder, which is a 2-episode OVA. I think each episode's like 55 minutes or 60 minutes long, and which is basically a murder mystery in which Sebastian has been murdered, and it's a locked room murder, and CL and his many guests who have been attending the manor, or visiting the manor I should say, are being investigated, and a mysterious gentleman detective has come to help solve this mystery of the murdered butler. But obviously we as an audience know that there's probably something else going on. This is very much, well, I mean, it's one of Seal's guests is Arthur, aka Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, aka the author of Sherlock Holmes. So obviously it's very much meant to be that this whole mystery, this whole event was what inspired Sir Arthur Conan Doyle to later write Sherlock Holmes. It's fun. It's a pretty great, interesting little murder mystery to try and figure out what happened, how it happened. It's in the manga as well, it's kind of a interlude or a breather between the heavier arcs and the more serious arcs of the manga. It's just kind of a fun preoccupation versus the actual major plot stuff that goes on in some of the other arcs. And finally, so I showed it's just a single disc. And finally is the film adaptation of a Book of the Atlantic, which I actually saw in cinemas many a year ago now. I really love this arc in the manga. This is basically, it predates the Titanic. But this is basically the Titanic, but with zombies. Which, if that doesn't make you pumped up, like, excited to see more, then I'm sorry. There's no helping you. I also really like this particular arc because it has a real focus on Lizzie, or aka Elizabeth, Ciel's fiance, this girl here. And it was the first time that she really shone as a character. I thought that they gave her a lot more of a actual personality outside of, and a lot more perspective on her current or her past actions versus how a lot of people perceived her before this film and before the arc that this is adapting. Basically Ciel and some of his attendants, including of course Sebastian and Snake, who are on the cover here, are on a ocean cruise, as is I think they're accompanying Lizzie and her family, who obviously are also high society people, and they're on this cruise ship, and then whilst this is happening, there's also a mysterious group called Phoenix Group, or I can't remember, that claim to be able to resuscitate people from the dead, and through I don't know, the power of magic, or black magic, occultism, which was very popular and is what a lot of the series does kind of rely on. Zombies happen, and it's a pretty, I enjoy it a lot. I like this arc in the manga a lot. The movie isn't brilliant, it's not fine art, but if you want to see people fighting zombies on a cruise ship, then this is a movie for you, right? I'm never gonna claim Black Butler is phenomenal, but I do think that it gets a lot of flack for some of the perception of fandom from the early 2000s, and it's not to say that it doesn't cater to that fandom, but there is more going on there. There is a lot to enjoy, even if you're not a particular shipper or anything like that. I like it a lot for the mystery horror kind of Victorian grungy setting. So Black Butler, not perfect, but is still fun. Next is a series that I have watched. It was fine. I remember enjoying it for the most part when it first came out, or when I watched it. This is Volume 1 and Volume 2, so the entire series of Occultic 9. I believe both sets are DVD Blu-ray releases, so Blu-ray and DVD. So this one has the first 6 episodes on it, and then this one has the last 6 episodes, 12 episodes in all. And this is obviously a series that had a Blu-ray release in the US thanks to Aniplex, but I don't deal with that. I'm not I wouldn't say that this is a series that really merited Aniplex pricing, and I think most people would agree, which is why I don't think a lot of people have owned this series unless they were like super duper fans, which I'm not sure anyone is. So this is set in the same universe as like the other semicolon adventure, mystery, sci adventure, whatever it is, series. So Steins Gate, Robotics Notes, Chaos Head, etc. Which I have seen all of except for the new like Steins Gate. I haven't seen Steins Gate 0 or whatever it is, the alternate version. But this one focuses on again like occultism. Obviously it's in the name, Occultic 9. I think people have been dying, murdered by some unknown force, and our plucky group of teens are trying to figure out what's going on, why that's happening. I kind of remember this not kind of falling apart maybe by the end of it. I don't really remember, but it was incredibly cheap, which is why I picked it up. And I like creepy like mystery stuff. This is not a surprise for anyone who's been following my channel for a while. It's a good like kind of spoopy thing to be watching in October, like Halloween season. I think initially in the series, a bunch of people, like a whole bunch of people, walk to a particular park and drown themselves in a river, and they're under some sort of like mass hypnosis. Nobody knows why they did that, or somebody saw someone trying to drown themselves in the river, and then the police got there, and there was just like hundreds of people. And then I believe that so obviously this is happening, and the police are posting lists of like people who have been identified so their family can claim the body and whatever. And one of our main characters, he sees his own name on this list. It's like, oh, it's wild. I think I'm remembering this correctly. But yeah, Occultic 9, it's set in, I mean, it's one of these similar, like, oh, there's a mystery, and we're gonna find out, like, what the actual thing behind it is. Not my favorite of these. Steins Gate isn't also either my favorite. Honestly, Robotics Notes is my favorite of this, like, verse, this various iterations of mysteries. I do like Steins Gate, though. But yeah, it's for the price that I paid. I'm happy to have this, because this was another series that I kind of felt the urge to pick up on a couple occasions, but I just was going to either wait for the price to be super cheap, basically, or wait for a complete collection, which is always not really, you can't necessarily expect when you come to like some of these Aniplex releases. So I just bit the bullet and decided to jump on it. And yeah, if it sounds like something you're interested in, maybe give it a shot. I think it's on Crunchyroll. But yeah, it's if you're in the US, I do think that Aniplex put it out, so it's a lot pricier than this release was here in Australia. For the stuff that I got in the JB Hi-Fi sale, not nearly the end of the anime, but for what I got the last of for this sale was another show that I did enjoy. I only finished recently though, and I wanted to pick up There was a limited edition release of this in a couple different countries, both the US and the UK. Maybe in Australia? I don't really know. I don't remember if there was. But this was quite popular when it came out. I know a lot of people I follow kind of generally who watch anime enjoyed it a lot. I liked it quite a bit for what it was. It's, again, not my favorite thing, but nothing in this kind of collection of sale items are my favorite thing. That's why I wait until they're on sale before I buy them. But this is the first season, or the complete, I think this has been announced for a second season. So the first season of Megalobox, volumes 1 or episodes 1 to 13. Yeah, again, just standard Blu-ray release from Madman. And this is the 50th anniversary, kind of celebratory anime that they made for the anniversary of Ashita no Joe. So I think it's set in the same world as Ashita no Joe, which is a very hugely popular. If you're not familiar with it, is a hugely popular boxing manga and anime, hugely influential, very popular series about a professional boxer or underdog, kind of scrappy, working his way to be the best boxer, and ends in a very iconic, memorable way. I will leave it at that. So this is a future, I guess cyberpunk almost, version of that story where our main character, he is a amateur, well, he's just kind of a guy, but he participates in amateur boxing matches, and this is a future in which boxing as a sport has become highly augmented, so a lot of athletes, a lot of boxers wear this, or all of them who compete on this particular stage, this particular sport, do so with hardware, or stuff on their arms to make them stronger, to make them punch harder or whatever. And so our main character, Mad Dog, I think is his name, he is, well, it's what he goes by. That's not his name. He doesn't have a name. But he wants to participate. Well, he's seen, kind of discovered by this old coach who used to have proper boxers, but has kind of fallen into hard times, alcoholism, etc. But he sees an opportunity in this young guy, and so yeah, it's the story of a scrappy underdog taking on a huge mega corporation and their scarily huge influence on this Megalobox competition and the boxing in this weird cyberpunk future. It's fun. It's pretty great. Lots of it has quite a hip hop kind of feel to it. Again, very very much like a up and coming, working hard to beat those who don't take you seriously whatsoever. And it's a pretty good time. I liked it. I'm looking forward to season 2. And yeah, again, this isn't a series that I think needs to be sold. I think a lot of people know it. A lot of people have seen it and enjoyed it, love it, whatever else. It's pretty great. And kind of a different mix from your typical standard sports series as well. And I think the only boxing series we have, aside from now, we have Ippo coming out, Hajime no Ippo from Discotheque, but this predates that release a little bit. So yeah, maybe if you're into boxing as well, this might be one to check out. Next are some things that I got from eBay. I actually got them from 2 different sellers, but they're the same series, so I'm going to show them off at the same time because I'm lazy. So first off is the standard edition Blu-ray release, UK release of Sound Euphonium. Again, this is one of Kyoto Animation's series that I've told the story before, but I've been trying to buy all of Kyoto Animation series over the course of the last year since the arson attack, and I've been quite successful in doing so. I did have the limited edition release of this set, and I still have that. I feel like I will be selling that though, just because the films, which haven't gotten a UK release, only have US standard releases, and so I want to kind of just keep it all either standard edition or limited edition, and I think just standard edition is fine for me. This is a series that has gone through kind of the ringer, honestly. It's had such a weird release. The first season in the US was released by Pony Canyon. Well, both seasons were released by Pony Canyon in the US, but the first season was like the super huge A4 size DVD sets. One of their, well, it was a Blu-ray set, but it was a DVD case the size of an A4 piece of paper. It was just weird, man. Released in 3 singles. And I know a lot of people didn't buy that because it was weird, and then it went out of print pretty quickly and nobody could get certain parts of it. And then much later down the line, they released the second season in normal DVD sized releases, two halves, right? Which is fine, better, but again, like, they're Blu-ray releases. Why are they in DVD size cases? Pony Canyon was a strange little company. I say little, they're a huge company, but little in the US, and didn't really quite know what to do with the titles that they licensed. So with and on the UK side, well, Australia we've never gotten Sound Euphonium. On the UK side, there has been a lot of uncertainty as to whether or not the second season will even be licensed, just because of the issues between like Crunchyroll partnerships and then mergers and ending partnership and all this stuff, like all the weird buying and selling of companies that happen in the US impacts markets outside of the US, which impacts availability, right? So this is Anime Limited's recent season 2 standard release. I will be picking up the second season if they release it. I really don't want to buy the Pony Canyon season 2 because that would be even more annoying, having DVD cases and Blu-ray cases. It's frustrating. And I don't know how a popular series like this has just kind of not had solid releases throughout. So anyway, this is this is a slice of, well, I guess it's a character drama about a teenage girl who plays the euphonium, which is of course a brass instrument. She loves the euphonium and she joins her school's concert band because she likes playing her instrument. But their concert band isn't very good and hasn't been very good for many years, but they've recently gotten a new teacher, like person in charge, who has a background of his own, but he's a quite well-known and accomplished conductor. And so this teenage girl and her various friends, all whom play different instruments, are working towards winning the national competition, and it's quite gay. Like, there's a rivalry between our main character Kimiko and this character here. I don't remember her name. It's been a while since I watched this show, but it's framed as a rivalry, but I think you have to not have like a brain to not see the queer subtext between those two. But anyway, that's not really the point of the show, despite everyone wanting it to be the point of the show. We also have on this cover, I don't remember people's names, this girl who's like new to music and she plays the tuba. And then we have Sapphire Midori, who plays the double bass, the cello. I can't. One of those large string instruments. I apologize to string instrumentalists. It's been a long time since I played one myself, and never one that big. But yeah, sound euphonium, solid, you know, kind of musical coming of age drama with beautiful Kyoto animation. But I got that, and then I also got, speaking of standard edition releases for films, Liz and the Bluebird, finally. So this is the Shout Factory release of this film. Both of the films that we've gotten for this series have been from Shout Factory. Is this dubbed? I can't remember. I don't know. Yes, it is. And this is a spin-off series. So our main characters of this TV show don't really show up in this whatsoever. It's more so about some of the upperclassmen in the concert band and their personal conflict and drama and their friendship and jealousy and a lot of those themes tying back to the Little Bluebird story. It's very, 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 very good, and I would argue that you could watch this film without having seen any of the rest of this franchise, and I would implore people to watch it because it is very, very good and does stand on its own. But yeah, happy to have both this and the first season on standard Blu-ray now. I think last month I picked up the final film, which is kind of the third part to this series and the last part. So yeah, hoping that there will be an option for season 2 that is less ridiculous than the current option. Next is another series. I think I got this in the Zavi sale. I don't know. There's a lot of sales going on the last month or so. But this is another UK release. Another one for my Kyoto Animation collection. And the last thing that I needed for this particular franchise, thankfully, it's over. And that is Love, Chunibyo, and Other Delusions, Season 1. So this is the whole series, the OVA and all of that. And as you can see, there's like a nice little slip box on this, although I probably won't keep it in the slip box because although I have my suspicions that both seasons and the films in the UK had these releases, I have the Australian release for season 2 and then the US releases for the 2 films, the sequel film and the recap film. And rather than repurchase those because of one slipcase, I'm just gonna not have the slipcase on this one. So this is, like with most of the stuff I've shown off, 2-disc standard, standard Blu-ray case. And this is probably, I don't know how super popular Chunibyo is, but it wasn't ever one of my favorites from the studio. So this follows 2 first-year high school students, a guy and a girl, who, so for those who don't know, Chunibyo is a word in Japanese which describes, I think it's translated as 8th grader syndrome, where everybody has done this. So when you hit like 14, 15, you think you want to be special, you want to be cool, you want to stand out from your peers, so you start pretending to do things or start pretending to enjoy things, and not even like logical things, but just weird stuff to make yourself seem more important or more exotic or whatever. Everyone watching, what that thing was for you. We've all done it. We were all that kid, right? So the premise of this is our main male character, he's starting high school. He just wants kind of a normal life. He's a pretty normal kid. But he has a dark past. Oh, he has a dark past in which he was the cringiest, like, edgelord, cool guy who thought he had magic powers and had no shame, telling all of his friends and family in middle school, like, oh yes, I have a cursed sword, and I got, like, all, you know, that bullshit, right? But so he gets to high school, he wants to leave that dark past behind, you know, new school, new me, just gonna live my life the best way I can. But just before school starts, a new family moves into the apartment block just that he lives in. I think it's the direct neighbors below, or no, above, because she freaking abseils or whatever down. And the daughter, the girl, the teenage daughter who lives there, she's going to be one of his classmates. Well, actually, she starts acting really weird. He kind of sees her on a couple occasions, and she's suffering from this chinibyo, these delusions of like crazy grandeur and being special and having all of these things that make you unique. She pretends to be fighting, you know, whatever the powers that be, and she wears an eye patch because she's got a cursed eye and all this stuff. And this boy discovered, well, he's just like, oh god, like, oh, she's young, man, I remember when I was that cringy. But then he goes to school and he realizes that they are classmates, and because they're neighbors, she's kind of like attached herself to him as friends, because she's new to the area, she doesn't know anyone, and he's just trying to avoid being caught up in the cringe. But unfortunately, when your quote-unquote only friend at high school starts spouting nonsense about you know, having a cursed eye and being able to talk to the elder gods or whatever, that then other teens are gonna side-eye you and be like, who is that? Oh my god, that weirdo. Like, oh god, just stay away from the crazies, right? And it's obviously love, chinibyo, and other delusions. It's kind of it's a comedy, romantic comedy about these two characters who are very much at odds, despite having kind of a lot in common. Everyone has that cringy phase, and their friendship and later their romantic relationship. It's fun, it's solid, fantastic fight animation scenes, beautifully done as per expected from Kyoto Animation, but not my favorite series. It's got a couple quite annoying characters. I do like the guy. I seem to always like the KyoAni kind of plain main character dudes. I don't know what that says about me, but I understand that struggle of like just wanting to forget your cringy past. I think we all have that. What's her name? Rika, yes. She's pretty likable, you know, so it's not unbearable to watch or anything. It is quite fun, and it's been a long time since I watched this first season, so I do hope to, well, I want to watch the second. I might rewatch this in order to watch the second season and then the movies and stuff, because this is the only part of the franchise that I've seen, so I don't know how it develops past this point. But yeah, the last one for chinibyo that I need to get, and another step closer to completing my Kyoto Animation collection. Next, we have a title that I got it from MVM, one of the MVM sales. I think this was, actually no, I didn't. I got this during Anime Online, which is a UK anime website. Every week they have a deal of the week. So they have a DVD copy of a show, which is at like £9 or whatever, and then they have a Blu-ray copy of a show, 2 different shows as well, at £14.99, so £15. And this was their Blu-ray deal for a series that I haven't watched yet, been meaning to, know that I will probably enjoy because I love the manga of this, and that is Bloom Into You, the complete standard edition collection. This has a very lovely, fancy, limited edition release from Sentai in the US, but I don't want to risk buying this, and it's a larger one as well, this limited edition, without having seen the show. Yeah, so this is a Yuri manga adaptation, anime adaptation of a Yuri manga of 2 high school girls, one who kind of has always grown up expecting that she's going to have like this Prince Charming sweep her off her feet. That's what romance is, and she's just waiting for the day for that to happen. But recently having been disillusioned from that, when the feelings she had for her most recent boyfriend, or the guy who asked her out or whatever, didn't feel like that. She recognizes in herself that she has an issue, or she doesn't seem to reciprocate the feelings of people who like her. And so there's a very strong coded part of this character of possibly being aromantic, possibly asexual. I haven't actually finished this manga. I do need to get the last 2 volumes so I can. But when she starts high school, she joins the student council, and the student council president is a beautiful and very capable girl, a year or so older than her, and she kind of they bond over this idea that they don't understand love, and they don't know if they can feel love, and so it's interesting. It's interesting how that dynamic is played. I like this manga series a lot, and apologies if that was completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's fairly accurate. There's also a wonderful, I guess, side couple. Not really. They're a well-established or long-term established couple, lesbian couple, between one of the teachers and the owner of this cafe, who has a cafe nearby, and they're really great mentors for our main characters. It's that storyline is kind of almost more interesting than the main characters, although I do enjoy all of this series. It's really great. I need to finish reading the light novels that focus on those adult women. But yeah, I can't speak to this adaptation, but I do know a lot of people whom I trust, a lot of people who are very invested in Yuri and women loving women's stories, because they are, that's them. Did enjoy this a lot, and I don't know if they'd been reading the manga prior to the anime, but I know quite a few did pick the manga up after the fact. Yeah, I look forward to actually finally watching this. It's been on the to watch list for a long time, but now hopefully I will actually get to that, because I don't like to have I don't really like to have unwatched series in the collection, so yeah, that's a job to get to. Next we have the first part, not the entirety, part of my Anime Limited 12 Days of Christmas sale purchases. So I bought a lot of their pre-orders, a lot of their exciting upcoming pre-order titles, which will be shipped to me as they are released. But they also, so if you're not familiar, Anime Limited is a UK publisher, licensor, And this year, they do a 12 Days of Christmas sale every year where they have a whole bunch of titles on sale, and they usually have like a special deal one every day for the 12 days, right? And that deal only lasts the one day. But this year, they decided that all of the deals were revealed as to what would be on the 12 days, but all of the deals would last the length of the 12 days, if that makes sense. So once one of the new ones was announced or open for pre-order, the past ones, the ones before that weren't closed. They just kept them open. So between that and then the huge discounts on so much of the rest of their catalog, like a disgusting amount of their catalog, plus free international shipping over £100, I would expect that they had a huge amount of people buying from their sales, including myself. So I definitely jumped on the opportunity to buy a whole bunch of stuff. As I said, a lot of it hasn't arrived to me yet just because it's back ordered or not yet released, but the stuff that was in stock, they shipped out to me, and their shipping, international shipping, is, I think it's DHL, it might be FedEx, but it arrived in like 4 days, which is super exciting. And because normally for their international shipping in the past, it's £25 flat rate. So you can buy a lot of stuff in it, but it will always be £25. So you don't want to just buy one thing. But it's always been kind of a issue for international buyers because of that, because £25 is a lot of money, right? And if you're buying something that's only, £25 itself, it's the double the cost. But it is good shipping, it's tracked, it's fast, yada yada yada. But they also they do multiple shipments, so thankfully orders weren't held up as stuff, in stock stuff was shipped when it was in stock. So even though for this holiday, in fact, I didn't pay shipping on the 2 orders that I made, but it will probably arrive to me in 3 or 4 shipments. So I've actually saved about £100 anyway. And so yeah, it was crazy. Anyway, so I bought a whole bunch of stuff from them, namely movies, namely films that I didn't have or wanted to, I guess, quote unquote, downgrade or replace. But I did get one of their limited edition sets that I've been wanting to get ever since it was released, but it was just super expensive with general retail price. With the sale, it went back to its pre-order sale early bird price, and that is Tamako Market. So this is the limited UK edition of both Tamako Market and Tamako Love Story, which is the better of the two, in most people's opinions. I would say this is another Kyoto Animation show, slice of life comedy about a young girl, well, a teenage girl, who lives in a mochi shop. Her father makes mochi, and she loves mochi. And there's a rivalry with the mochi store across the road, who is her childhood friend, this guy. But their dads are at odds, and they always have been. And that's her sister. And it's kind of the everyday life of her and her friends, and the romantic mishaps that may be happening, because this bird, I remember his name, he came from some mysterious southern island in order to find a bride for a prince. And he chooses her, and she's like, what? And this girl comes to check her out, and yeah, shenanigans ensues. You either love or hate the bird, honestly. Like, it is quite funny, but it can be very annoying as well. Tamako Market, the show, it's good. I did like it. I liked it quite a bit, but I would say that the film sequel to Mako Love Story is the better of the two by a long shot. I adore this film. It was great. So this is, the sequel, in which the romantic tension or conflict between the two childhood best friends, rivals, well, family rivalry, comes to a head, and yeah, it's good. Oh, it's really sweet and good and lovely. This comes with booklet for all of the extra stuff. Comes with obviously the outside box, which is always nice. Anime Limited does really lovely packaging, which is why I buy so much from them. Also, Region B. And then this is storyboards for the film, for particular exciting moments of the film, which is a nice extra. I don't ever really look at storyboard books, but I'm not complaining. Like with most things, it's an extra that I won't really look at that much after the fact, but I bought this series because I wanted this edition of this series, because I do really like Tamako Market a lot. It's very sweet, it's very fun, it's very heartfelt, and very cute in the way that Kyoto Animation has perfected. And it's I like the ease of having a Region B release as well. So I will probably just get rid of my US Region A releases, because I did own the series prior to this as well. So, whatever. Next we have the starting of the standard Blu-rays movies. All of the rest of what I got from Anime Limited so far are movies, all of which that I've seen, but just didn't own or wanted to downgrade. So the first one is Tokyo Marble Chocolate, which is, it's a movie. I think it's actually an OVA. It's only about, an hour long. Kind of perfect for timing because it is set in Christmas. It's about a guy who wants to confess his love to the girl he's been seeing, or he wants to be maybe honest about his feelings. He doesn't, I don't know if he's confessing to her or they've been going out for a long time and he wants to tell her he loves her, something along those lines. And he's stressing about it. It's Christmas, and then all of a sudden this weird, cartoony, strange little donkey starts. Oh, he grabs the gift that he bought for his girlfriend or whatever, and so he's chasing this donkey around Tokyo, all of Christmas, and then stuff. He realizes the importance of whatever, and overcomes his hesitancy, and yada yada yada. It's cute, it's sweet, Christmas focused, although the Japanese sense of Christmas, where it is a romantic holiday more than anything else. But yeah, it's a fun little time. It's a cute little OVA. And for those who recently watched some of the stuff from the Japanese Film Festival this year online, this was one of the titles that was available. Next is another standard Blu-ray, obviously, of Sort of the Stranger. What to say about this? It's about a very accomplished swordsman who has to take in a child, something about a kid. It's been a while since I've seen this movie. It's been a long time since I've seen this movie. I think he finds a kid, or has given a job where he has to help this kid travel to some destination, and so he's acting as bodyguard for this kid. It's very kind of Blade of the Immortal-esque. I don't think revenge is happening, but he has to protect Blade of the Immortal or Moribito as well. It's good. Like, a lot of it's a very well loved film, not series, film. It's animated beautifully, has had a lot of success over the years, and I did used to own it, and I don't either misplaced it or it got lost somewhere along the way. So this is kind of a replacement. Like, I already had this, but no longer. Haven't been able to find it for at least 18 months. So yeah, been nice to. I need to rewatch this actually. Let's put that on the rewatch pile. Next is another film that I do really enjoy. It's been a while since I've watched it. Beautiful to watch. I wouldn't say that. I don't know if it's the best film, but the ideas are interesting. The animation is gorgeous. I like this director's other stuff. And I have, as I said, I have seen this, but I got rid of the limited edition a while ago just because I was wanting to kind of clear out some of the limited editions I had for films. Yeah, so this is Patama Inverted. This is a sci-fi future series about a world where two societies are living side by side without even really knowing about it. So the Earth, does it affect everyone? No. So it's said that in the time, like 100 years ago or whatever, God struck the Earth because humanity was terrible or whatever, and gravity inverted. So all of the people started floating up to the sky, or all the sinners or whatever. I don't know. People started they lost gravity. They started flying off the surface of the Earth, the face of the Earth. Well, I say flying. They're floating off, and hundreds of millions of people died. And those who are still afflicted by this, and their progeny have buried into the deep core of the Earth. Well, I mean, they're not at the core of the Earth, but they're buried underground, and they have whole societies underground where, they live and exist. Meanwhile, on the surface of the Earth is other normal people who aren't affected by this, who have been taught all of this propaganda about, sins and the evilness and the reverse gravity. And one of these people, a teenage boy, leaves class. He notices something, I don't remember. Something catches his attention, and he goes to play hooky or whatever, and he discovers a teenage girl called Patama, who is from this underground society. She's very strong-willed. She wanted to go explore and see the surface of the Earth herself, and she's done so, but so she runs into this guy, and they meet, and they start a friendship, and it's about that. And then the many conflicts that arise because these two have met, and what it means to kind of break this propaganda. And you don't want to, the powers that be don't want any chance for people to question what they've been told, and all that evil government stuff that happens. It's a fun little movie. It gets a little bit convoluted towards the end, but it's still a pretty good time, and it's pretty magical in how it shows these two worlds and how they not quite coexist, but how they interact. So yeah, give it a shot if you haven't. This is a series or a film that actually is kind of important to Anime Limited. They did a Kickstarter for a fancy limited edition release of this many years ago. I never owned that version. I owned the Australian limited edition release, or ultimate edition. Anime Limited does ultimate editions and then limited edition. They did an ultimate edition Kickstarter for this film, which, you know, is good on them. And they've done a couple, they had one other Kickstarter since, and it seemed to go pretty well for them, so I'm glad for that. And that was when they were a much smaller company, so it's kind of cool to see how they've grown and changed since their very beginnings. Speaking of the Kickstarter that Anime Limited did, this was their other Kickstarter project, another series, I think that, or another film. I think they were kickstarting it for a dub? I don't quite remember. It's been a while. But that is My Miracle, which is a quiet slice of life film about a young girl who befriends another young girl who has recently moved into their tiny country town, and their adventures together, and kind of their imagination, all of the things they get up to when they have really the world to explore and all of the time in the world to have fun and play around. It's quite sweet. It's not very plot heavy or anything. It's not a film that's for everyone. But if you like these kind of soothing, methodical slice of life, just about, you know, daily lives of normal people in quiet, friendly neighborhoods and small towns, then check this one out. It's a pretty good time, and obviously focuses a lot on these two young girls, and so it has a lot of focus on female friendship and childhood imagination and things like that. It's worth a watch. Finally, for the Anime Limited films that I picked up, this is another one that did I used to own this? Did I own the US really? I don't know. I did used to own this, and then I think I gave it to a friend, and she never gave it back, which is fine. That's not a problem. And it was, again, so cheap. So I was like, okay, it's easy to replace it now than kind of chase her up on it. Not too, like, I don't really mind doing that. And this is Miss Hokusai, which is a historical film, or a historical magical realism film, sort of, about the daughter of the very famous and influential artist, Japanese artist, obviously, Hokusai. You know, the one who did the big wave. That's in the background of this picture. It is about her life and her struggles as the oldest daughter of this influential artist who just doesn't really he doesn't really look after himself very well, and doesn't really have much care for other people, and so her complicated relationship with her father, and being his kind of go-between, his representative between him and clients, and her own struggles as being the child of someone so popular, so famous, and her own struggles as an artist and what that means. It's really good. Obviously, character drama, not going to be for everyone. And Miss Hokusai, our main character, she's not exactly like the friendliest of people, for very understandable reasons, mind you. But people might not necessarily like her. I thought she was very realistic, and I thought her story was really interesting to follow. But people may disagree on that. But yeah, really, really solid little film. I think it's on... Is it on Netflix? It's on somewhere for streaming, so maybe watch it that way rather than inherently buying the film. But it is worth the watch. Finally, for anime, oh my goodness, we've gotten to the end. Oh my goodness. These are some things that I picked up in the Black Friday Amazon sale. These are the only sets that they had on sale at Australian Amazon. Fulfilled from the US Amazon, but the Australian side was where I bought it from. And so I bought the rest of the sets, because this is a longer series with multiple sets. on Right Stuff, because they were also on sale for their Christmas holiday sale. And this is a series that longtime viewers will know that I did own. I recently sold the limited editions because I like the show, but not enough to keep the limited editions, and the limited editions are very hard to come by now, so I didn't mind giving them to a new home, or finding them a new home, shall I say, because I'm not that fussed about what kind of packaging this series is in versus those who are really like wanting the full set of the fancy limited edition. Anyway, so this is maybe expected, or maybe people have guessed from that explanation. Ranma 1/2. So we have the Blu-ray set for Volume 1, which is I think 23. 23 episodes a disc. So for those who don't know, Ranma got 7 parts for the show and then 1 for the movies and OVAs. I think the movies OVAs one's the only one without a standard edition, so I might have to wait to pick that one up. But this is part 4, which when talking about limited editions, this is like the one that's super hard to find. And then also part 5. So 2, 3, and 6 and 7 I have ordered. They're back ordered on Right Stuff for the future because I do like this show. I'm not quite finished with it. My sister and I have watched up to the entirety of, including part 4. So part 5 is sort of the new stuff that we're getting into. I think we watched 1 disc of part 5. I don't remember. It's been we watched it. It's one of those shows that you can put on and not have to think too much. It's just a fun action comedy. Obviously, Rumiko Takahashi's very popular series. The manga's coming out right now, or is it completed in English? I think so. Maybe now. Follows a teenage boy called Ranma who lives with his kind of promised betrothed and her family. What's her name? Oh my god, what is her name? I don't remember. Oh my goodness, that's really bad because I do like her a lot. And her family, and it's shenanigans because whilst he and his father were training in China for their anything goes martial arts, they both fell into cursed lakes, and so every time they fall into water, his father turns into a panda, which is the panda on the front, and every time he falls into cold water, Ranma turns into a girl, so it's a gender flipped shenanigans. And then every time he falls or is poured on with hot water as a girl, he changes back to his original male self. So it's the series hasn't necessarily aged well, but it's still pretty funny. It's a good time, and then there's a lot of whole cast of colorful characters that have their own crazy hijinksy things and ticks. There's Shampoo, who is a young Chinese girl who's just in love. Well, Ranma has a whole harem of girls who have either been promised to marry him or want to marry him. Shampoo, she turns into a cat because, again, cursed springs, and her brother or cousin or something, childhood friend Moose, he turns into a goose. And then there's Ryoga, who's his best friend / rival, and he turns into a pig, aka Pichan, who's the pet, Akane, that's her name. Akane's pet, but she doesn't know it's Ryoga. Shenanigans. Yeah, it's a pretty fun time. Again, it's not a series that you need your brain on to enjoy. I really hate Hapusai. I think a lot of people dislike the pervy old man trope, and he's the most annoying part of the series. but everything without Hafusai is pretty great. Let's be real, it's pretty great. Yeah, again, it's not a perfect series. It hasn't aged particularly gracefully, but it's still a fun time, and it's still definitely a classic. For me, it's the first time watching it and enjoying it immensely. It's a great comedy series, and you can definitely understand why Rumiko Takahashi's works have just stood the test of time. They are very, very, very memorable, very likable, and just generally really great. Also, you know, all of her stuff, or all of her gag comedy action stuff, is quite repetitive. Even Inuyasha, which is less, you know, comedy, they're long, they're overly long. They do outstay their welcome, but, you know, it's still, like, if you watch it in little batches, it's not a problem. You can enjoy yourself a lot more. Everything that I got for this month of December, anime-wise at least. Yeah, lots and lots from sales, and lots more to come from sales. It's horrendous, isn't it? End of the year stuff, I don't know, man. I try to be good, and then all of a sudden, it's so much so that I can't pass it up. But lots of, a lot of pretty fun series here. Tamako Market and Sorone are still kind of the thing that I was most looking forward to in these pickups, but really glad to have the rest. Really glad to have so many of the Kyoto Animation stuff finally picked up, and so my list is getting ever smaller. Yeah, it'll be nice to kind of revisit some of these as well down the line, because it's been a while since I've rewatched some of them. But let me know your thoughts on any of these titles. Have you watched them or not? I love hearing them. Comment as needed. As always, the link to my Twitter will be in the description below if you're wanting to follow me there or get in contact with me more directly. That's the best avenue. Just earlier this week, I and my good friend Ray from Whimsical Pictures, who co-hosts our podcast, Read Right to Left with me, we posted our end of the year podcast, which focuses on manga. Well, the podcast always focuses on manga, but this month's episode focuses on our top 5 debuts for this year. Check it out if that sounds interesting to you. And yeah, otherwise, if you are not subscribed to the channel and you enjoyed this, you're wanting more, please consider subscribing. I appreciate it. Otherwise, I will catch you in the next video. Bye till then.